We're back at it again with Life in a Wine Bottle. I'm your host, Nelson Pizarro. This is part two with special guest Lisa Redwine with SDSU Wine Program. Lisa will give us a quick rundown on how the program's structured from start to finish, plus time and cost that's going to be involved. Enjoy the podcast. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Castelli Family Vineyards, where you can taste the love of the wine. Follow and like them on Instagram at CastelliFE. Bespoke Maestro. They make elegant dresses and suits benefiting any occasion. Follow them on Instagram at Bespoke Maestro. San Diego Wine Tasting App. Easy to use, free to download, fun to find a new winery. Download the app today on Apple Store and Google Play. Search for San Diego Wine Tasting App. Lastly, SDSU Wine Program. Our wine classes are combined wine tasting and wine education. The wine certification program is a combination of lecture, reading, and tasting in a holistic approach to wine. What are you waiting for? Start your wine program today. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at SDSU Wine. Also, you can follow Lisa at Lisa Redwine. Now let's get on with the show.
Right. And I think you bring a good point to all of that. It was SDSU's wine program that ignited that fire.
You guys obviously are doing something to keep the flame going. You didn't
and
just
it's
turn
significant.
It off. Yeah.
And they were able to take that and translate that into something they love to do and make a living at it.
Yeah.
So I think that shows the validity of our wine program.
Yeah. And obviously the instructors. You guys obviously are doing something right, because if you're a born instructor, I mean, wine can be boring. You're like, there's a bottle of wine. Look, it smells, green. It has green pepper. It has cherries. It's dark in color, ruby red. It tastes smooth, long finish. Okay, next.
Right, next.
Here's the next one. So it's you had to spice it up and bring that attention. So good job on that side. So we already talked about the cost. How about the classes? Signing up, you said online is the best way. We did a certificate, students joining. We already talked about that. Give us a little background.
And you can just go to the website, the SDSU Global Campus website, and all the courses that are available are listed.
Okay.
So it's a really easy process.
Okay, so that's the best way.
And pay your phone bill online.
Okay, yeah, that's an easy way to get on there. What about, let's go into the time frame. So obviously I assume this is it's like going to college, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the time frame from start to finish.
So, and SDSU gives you 2 years, right? But and right now too, I'm going to preface it with saying with COVID right now, they're trying to figure out how exactly that's going to work with the classes being offered currently. Mm-hmm. Hopefully by next year in 2021, we'll be allowed to do some face-to-face classes. Okay. So the answer I'm going to give you is in the world of we're allowed to have face-to-face classes.
Okay.
So 2 years, but you can get it done in a year easily. So it's not an impossible task. The other thing too is that, like, for example, Exploring Wine is 8 weeks long, but it's only 1 night a week for 3 hours. Okay. So if you're working, if you,
which most of your students, I assume, are working and just kind of, they just want to have an extra part about growing in the wine world.
Right.
Okay, so about 3 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And what about homework? Is there homework?
Oh, this is like, I've been told I'm a hard instructor. So I always say, I always tell the class, like, look, if all you do is read about wine, you just know theory. Mm-hmm. If all you do is taste wine, well, then you just drink a lot. Mm-hmm. So you have to combine the two. Okay. So for me, we do a lot of reading, a lot of work on theory, because you can't understand what you're tasting unless you know how the wine is made in that particular.
Where it's coming from, yeah.
Right? So for example, German Riesling, you're never going to say that wine has oak on it, new oak, new French Barrique, because they don't employ that there. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't know that unless you knew the theory behind it. Mm-hmm. So, for us in Exploring Wine, it's again, that foundational level. And we break down a wine into 3 components. So you'll taste acid, tannin, or experience tannin, doesn't have flavor, and oak and sweetness. I mean, those are the basic components in a wine. And, and that comes after years of teaching and jumping into tasting and students not understanding what's going on their palate. So they think that a wine is sweet, but it's not because there's so much acidity, or they don't know. They know that they have a wine that's aggressive on the palate, but they don't understand where is it tannin or is it acidity. And by breaking it down in the very beginning, and I think in class 2, they're able to really grasp what's going on in their palate. And then, throughout the class, and then we taste a lot of wine and exploring wine.
Where are you guys getting your wines from then? Is it just,
for me, it's mostly, I just go out and buy them. But for me, sourcing wines that are wines of typicity. So that's why, for example, if you were going to talk about Albarino, you're going to get that from Ria Spicias. It's not like you can buy an Edna Valley Albarino and talk about typicity. You want to go to where it's really grown. So, they take, Chateauneuf de Pape. If you're going to talk about that, you really need to try a Chateauneuf de Pape. And I try and find wines that, we talk about the classics. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, great. Sometimes we taste it, sometimes we don't. But what about their Pinot Noirs? So, that's another classic varietal that's grown there. So we try and find, that baseline of what's grown, but then also to move beyond that and explore some other more interesting varietals that you may not see.
Oh, nice. So that's a great overview of the timeline, so people don't get shocked, I guess, of what it takes, because you obviously this is your profession, and you're basically giving your profession to another person to grow in that industry. So it isn't like, oh, here's a book, here's a notepad, here's a worksheet, just fill it out, just bring some bottles, and then we taste them, we go home. You're really making them work there. So when we talked about the COVID and during this time, is there any brainstorming, is there any other ideas besides doing Zoom classes, or is that basically the kind of overall for the?
Well, right. I mean, right now Zoom is really an effective way to communicate and to bring the classroom to life. I mean, really, at this point, right now with SDSU, they're looking at bringing some technology and how to write an online class that's through SDSU Global Campus. Okay. So on the back end for the instructors, we're learning about different ways to teach. But, all of, the one thing that's challenging is that everything takes time. And so just getting all the instructors through some of that instruction on for us is really key. And I mean, if the one thing, if I could say, Yvonne, I'm sure I know you've been communicating with Yvonne, and I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting her, but
not yet.
Yvonne is so passionate about the wine program, and she's actually taking it. So she is somebody who really has her fingertips on the pulse of what we're doing for the wine program and where we need to go and what the future holds. And so I think that is really kind of a unique experience for her, but also to what she brings to the table. She's seeing on a global perspective of what's going on within the university system, which is really cool. So I think overall, the classes per se are going to be in a Zoom format until we can meet back in person.
Okay. And I forgot to ask, how many students do you accept? Is it everybody? How many is per classroom? What's your feel on that?
So for me, over the years, I've watched the classes grow. The largest class I had was almost 40 people. Okay. And after teaching it, I told Yvonne, it's too much.
Yeah.
18 to 25 is really ideal.
Okay.
It's
intimate.
It's intimate. And some of the best classes I've taught have been those like 12, so
Yeah.
intensive.
Yeah.
But those 12 people walk away from that class so, first of all, knowledgeable. And also, too, for me, it's a really easy cue to catch when people are lost.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need to make it harder because they're comfortable at the topic.
Yeah, they got it. They understood it.
Right. So I can dive deeper.
To challenge it.
Right. When you get bigger, bigger is not necessarily better.
Mm-hmm.
They really try and keep it around 18 to 25 people. And especially, as we move back into classes, what's great is that we're already teaching those numbers. So if those are the numbers that are asked of us for safety measures, well, then we're already there.
Yeah. Okay.
Never return to where we excel. So
easy. So it actually kind of works to your benefit. Actually, so great. So I know you talked a little bit about the wine program's goal through Yvonne, but what about yourself? What's your goal through SDSU and your personal self? Is there any other achievements you're trying to accomplish, or just stay as a professor or instructor? What are you looking for?
My lifelong pursuit is to attain the Master of Sommelier certification.
So you're working on that now?
Always.
Yeah. Okay.
My husband and I were just talking, like, I can't remember a day when flashcards were not a part of my education, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, my commitment is to be better today than I was yesterday. Mm-hmm. Fine. And I think that for my personal teaching goals, I think that to become a better instructor every time I teach is always a goal. I'm always refining what I'm teaching. Mm-hmm. I'm always checking, were there any changes? Are there changes that have happened that may not apply to exploring wine, but I should talk about? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think those are really important. I'm involved in trying to get through the Italian Wine Scholar, which is funny because I thought, with all this free time, I should fly. No, like, where do the days go? I don't know. So, and those are things that, for me, they interest me. Yes, it is education, but I find them very interesting, and they fulfill, that educational side for me to learn more.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, so you keep on pushing yourself, and you too are a student, so it's actually easier for you to teach. Mm-hmm. Because you know what other students are saying,
right?
How to change some things instead of being the professor or instructor.
And I also know how hard it is. Yeah. People have this assumption that they go in and they taste a couple wines and they can blind taste and figure it out. And I'm like, oh gosh, no, that's. Yeah. But the other thing too that, and I always tell my class this, is that I learn more than they do. You would be shocked at some of the questions I get. Yeah. And, and it's taken me a long time to be comfortable in not knowing every answer. Mm-hmm. It is the thing that I love most is when they ask a question that is a super intelligent question and I have no idea what the answer is. And that allows me to go back and learn. And
your research.
Right. And the other thing too, and I'm sure with you being in the wine industry, you can relate to this. I have been asked questions that I know the answer to in my head, trying to articulate it in an intelligible way where a student can understand is really hard. Yeah. So, and so many times, I've been asked a question. I'm like, well, of course I know the answer to that question. It's a really easy question, but yet trying to explain it. Somebody asked me, what is corked wine? Well, of course we all know what corked wine is. Mm-hmm. Trying to explain that concept to people that don't understand.
To make sense. Yeah.
Right.
To make sense to them. To like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Oh, it's called this. I'd rather call it this than that,
Right.
But that makes perfect sense. And I do know what you're saying, especially when they ask you, what do you taste in this? Or like the science behind the wine, it gets a little more complex that people don't really care about the science. They just kind of say, how do you cut it off from, how do you make it so simple that you can understand what you're saying to them?
Right. Totally.
And yes, I get that all the time. It's pretty funny, but I try my best like you and just always growing and just hear other people say other things, stopping by other places and listening to them. So let's talk to me a little bit about how can we promote the SDSU wine program? Is there anything specific? Website, Instagram, email?
Right. I'm sorry, I'm going to look at my notes because
Oh, you can't cheat.
I can't cheat.
You can't, yeah, this is your master summoning course right now.
Right.
This is part of it.
So, one of the things that, especially for me is, my son, I have a 16-year-old son, and he always says, Mom, Facebook, yeah, Instagram. Like, this is your key.
Okay. He hasn't said TikTok yet?
He's just not into TikTok. I don't know. But I just joined Instagram, and it's so true.
Okay, wait. What's your Instagram then? You can't bypass that.
So my Instagram is at Lisa Redwine. I know.
Okay. Go. At Lisa Red, 2 reds. Wine. All right, easy. So
and then SDSU is at SDSU Wine.
Yep, I followed them already. So.
Yep.
But everybody else listening, go ahead.
Yeah, and Facebook is the same. It's at SDSU Wine, except all capitals.
Okay. Perfect. So for the listeners, if you're really interested, and maybe not want to push the button just yet, just because what's going on right now, or you really physically have to think about just working, there's something just to keep them in mind. Because you're always going to be pushing, hey, we're doing this course, we have this meet instructor week or something. I don't know.
Right.
But there's different ways to get connected to you guys. And the only way that happens is just, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So if you keep on seeing that Instagram or on Facebook, whichever either or you see, or following you, I think that will be the best way to go about things. And then just the website is just the regular, just go to SDSU and just type in wine program.
It's the SDSU Global. So, and the other really kind of cool thing that I love, and so for me, I'm heavily involved in SomCon. Right now it's a virtual world, so until that comes back, we always need a huge swath of volunteers. And one of the things that I love about SDSU is that they do such a great job at promoting, either events that are going on for wine that are really fun. They promote jobs within our industry, and people always say like, "Oh, how did you get to where you are? Or how did you have that job? It's so cool." Well, none of them have been through a job. Like, it's just that networking aspect.
The connections. It's all connections.
Right. And if it's the one thing that SDSU just does so well it's the opportunity to network. So I think that's a really beneficial aspect to taking any of these classes. It opens doors for you that go beyond a class.
Yeah. Look, like I said, from the beginning, that's how we started. I didn't think about it. I really didn't. I had Don, then I had Ron. Then I'm just like, why wouldn't I contact them and see? And most people enjoy doing podcasts, especially obviously if you have time, but most people like doing it. They like talking about what they're so passionate about and what they're good about. And it was, just, for me, it's good to hear what's going on in the wine program, because it can be a little intimidating, because what you think about is, well, I guess what I imagine is some person with a glass, smelling wine, and writing down notes, and not saying anything, just writing down notes, and and then just shake their head a little bit and kind of blink a couple of times, and then spit it out. And that's kind of what I think about doing wine courses. But it's more than that. It's it will be a living. It's a lifestyle, that you guys are creating. Great. So thank you for that information. When I do the YouTube side, I'll put that underneath so people hopefully see on YouTube. For the podcast side, we're getting a little over 300 plus people listening.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting. Average, we get people subscribing. So I'm happy that people are listening to hopefully grow in that and the wine side. And another question for you, wine collection. I know you said there's some wines that you tell your husband it's a no-no.
Right.
Do you have a wine collection?
I laugh because I say, yes, I have 2 wines. I have Drew Redwine and Reese Redwine.
So those are your favorites.
Right. The story behind that is before I got pregnant with Drew, we had a spare bedroom, and I was talking about
Making that into a cellar.
and into a wine cellar, and then, whoop, nope.
Until he leaves, until he moves out, you guys are making
right. So funny enough, it's a pretty like classic sommelier cellar. It's for me, it's a lot of. I have a bunch of Riesling in there. I love Riesling. And then I have I have some really fun I like sparkling wine. So I have some fun sparkling wine, and I have some beautiful champagnes tucked away. And then for reds, I had a bottle of DRC, but I recently consumed it. So that was exciting. And, for me, they're varietals that I like to drink. And then I have just some bizarre wines that I've purchased over the years that are just and fun.
You like the label, or it just
exactly
a crazy blend that you'll never find.
Right. My cellar is usually about. I mean, it's very small. Here at home, it's about 4 cases. But what's nice about it is it's constantly being depleted.
That's a positive.
Added to, right? So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you got a little cellar, collection, which I wouldn't consider you to be a collector, because most collectors they say it's only 1% that physically keep wine for 10, 20, 30 years, and they just enjoy doing that. Like buying a car or buying cars.
Right.
They just love just buying that one bottle and keeping it. You buy the bottle and you drink it.
Yes.
Special occasion, you start drinking it, which is perfect.
Tuesday.
So it's Wine Tuesday for you, not Taco Tuesday. Taco and Wine Tuesday for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we'll do a little. My little game that I do is called the Spit Wine Game, and I'll just ask you 5 questions, and you just say whatever comes to your mind. Obviously, it's going to be wine, and nothing crazy.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
I'm fire away.
White or red?
White.
Favorite bottle?
Il Grigio.
Il Grigio. Favorite winery, and you can't pick Castelli Family Vineyards. So favorite winery.
That is, it's like asking a 10-year-old what their favorite candy bar is. Favorite winery. Domaine Carneros.
Where's that at?
It's in Carneros.
Oh, Carneros. Okay, sorry.
Eileen Crane is the winemaker, and she's been an inspirational force in my career.
So do you know her well then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. So big shout out to them. One wine region you can go to, which one would it be?
South Africa. Dying to go to Africa. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. My sister actually went there, and she's not big into wine, but she's like, she had a great time going to the wineries and growing there. She couldn't believe how much wine comes out of there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, because you really don't think about Africa having wine.
Right.
But they have, everywhere. It's just wine like crazy. All right. And the last one, last bottle you opened.
Oh, that's an easy one. It was delicious too. It was Domaine Artifact. And
really? Okay. From Ramona.
Grenache, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So that's a great, or not Ramona, but Escondido in our area.
Yeah, Escondido.
Nice. That's great. I'm glad you're supporting this area. And that's perfect. That's all the questions there. And have you been around here with your husband in the Ramona area, Hamul or Escondido?
And I've judged the Ramona wine competition for a number of years.
The Meinstein.
Cool.
So you've been able to taste a lot of wines then.
For me, what I so appreciate about that wine competition is I've seen the wines evolve and change. And, the world doesn't start out at the Napa of today. There's a reason why it's called an emerging wine region. And I'm so enjoying seeing that passion that any person I've met in Ramona or Escondido, those are 2 areas that I've focused on. I don't mean to leave out Temecula or anywhere else, or urban wineries. But for me personally, like those are 2 areas that I've that I've really focused on.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I really enjoy is watching that passion translated into experience,
Mhm.
and then happens in the bottle.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's really fun.
That's great. I'm glad you're able to taste these wines and just kind of support your area.
Yeah.
Really, at the end
Mhm.
of the day, that's basically what you're doing. And you never know when you're going to get connected to somebody within this area. Because, I mean, San Diego is getting so big within the wine industry
Mhm.
that before we know it, it's going to be a very big region
Right.
because of what we have here. We do
Yeah,
have the foods, we
absolutely.
have the beaches, we have the mountains, we have the desert, and now we have wines that we hopefully
Right.
are competing and really growing and growing in our profession. And it just takes time.
Well, and the one thing I will say, I mean, for me, what the biggest thing that I would say to whoever I'm talking to about wine is stay true to the integrity of who you are as a wine student of wine.
Mhm.
For me, for example, like I work for Regal Wine Company, um, Jackson Family Wines. I mean, the thing that I love most about my job is the integrity of every bottle that I put into my wine bag, no matter the bottle cost. It doesn't have to be expensive, no matter where it's from in the world. Every single bottle has a label of integrity. And the one thing that I always encourage students is find the thing that drives them, gives them their passion, and go full in
Yeah.
and never compromise on that.
Mhm.
And I've just seen it over and over and over again, the success of the hundreds of students that have gone, maybe thousands of students
Nice.
that have gone through my class.
That is really cool. So, Lisa, that's the end of the podcast. Do you have a good time?
Awesome. I had a great time.
Great. I really appreciate it. Maybe next year we can kind of see what's new, what's going on, or
Yeah.
maybe do it in a house one at one of your courses.
Yeah.
Maybe something a little more unique and kind of just check out the place and do something a little bit different. Obviously,
Cool.
this isn't my full-time job. This is
Mhm.
more of a hobby, and hopefully
Right.
I can help other people enjoy the wines as much as I do, and just the industry of it what I
Right.
love doing, just planting the grape and seeing the consumers purchase at bottom and share the stories that they got from when they came here. So that's my biggest outcome.
So, all right, I have a to ask. Is your tasting room open now?
We are taste, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll have to get up there.
Yeah, yeah. Just shoot me an email and just let me know. We are open Saturday, Sundays,
Okay.
and we do have a big outdoor space.
Oh, great.
So we have
Perfect.
indoor, outdoor. Yeah. So it's not. Um, yeah, we make it as comfortable as possible. We have some
Yeah.
bocce ball to play, and now that's getting a little bit cooler.
Oh, right
I
on.
think more people want to be outside than inside. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so sweet.
What a nice
Well,
way to spend a Saturday or a Sunday, right?
yes, it will be a very nice day. Now that the temperatures are coming down, it's going to be a lot
Right.
nicer because it was
Right.
111 last week or 2 weekends ago, and it
Yeah.
was a little. I mean, we have air conditioner in our cellar, so we're okay. We're about 65 in the cellar, so when people come in, they're really happy. But
Right.
to
Yeah.
drag people out of their houses when they don't know if there's outdoor or indoor seating,
Right.
it's super hard to build. So it's just the
It's
brand
harder. Yeah.
awareness. Yeah, it's the brand awareness, the marketing, and connections. Just getting connected to people. That's all it is.
Cool.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Yvonne, for setting this up too and having you part of
Hmm.
this. I know she said she doesn't want to be part of this, the speaking side of it, but maybe we can suck her in next time and get her
She's
with us.
she's an amazing, amazing.
So we got to get her next time. And do you have anything else to add? Do you have?
No, I just look forward to coming out and trying your wine.
That was the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, Lisa Redwine and the SDSU wine program for joining me on the podcast. As Lisa mentioned in the podcast, this wine program is for everybody from restaurant industry, wine industry, or just getting started in the wine world. SDSU wine program has a class for you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or iTunes, Google Play, and follow us, like us on Instagram, Facebook at Life in a Wine Bottle. I'm your host, Nelson Pizarro. This is Life in a Wine Bottle, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.